We begin our discussion of inheritance with this so-called UML class diagram, which expresses the relationships between a bunch of classes in a hierarchy that begins with a class called community member. And this is what we call a UML class diagram. And at the top of the diagram is what we call the superclass of the hierarchy, or in some programming languages people refer to that as the base class of the hierarchy. So basically, in a university community, everybody who's part of the community is considered to be a community member. But there's also specific types of community members. For example, there's employees of the university, there are students, and there are alumni of the university as well, and all of them are considered to be community members. In fact, what we have here with these hollow arrowheads is what we call an is-a relationship. An employee is a community member, a student is a community member, and an alumnus is a community member as well. So these three are distinct classes, but they all share a common superclass, which means they may have common data and functionality among them. And because of those is-a relationships, any place in a program that expects to receive an object of type community member can actually receive an object of type employee, student, or alumnus, and actually anything lower down the hierarchy. And that's part of the key concepts that we'll be looking at in this chapter and the next. Now, below employee, we have faculty and staff. Employee is a subclass of community member, or what some people refer to as a derived class of community member, but it's also a superclass of faculty and staff. So based on the arrow relationships, following them upwards, we can say that a faculty member is an employee and a staff member is an employee. And because these two are both employees, we can also say that a faculty member is a community member and a staff member is a community member. We just need to be able to follow the arrows up the hierarchy to get to the superclass type. Now finally down here we see that faculty is a subclass of employee, but it's also a superclass of administrator and teacher. So an administrator is a faculty member, a teacher is a faculty member. Because they're both faculty, we can also say an administrator is an employee and a teacher is an employee. And because they're both employees, we can also say that an administrator is a community member and a teacher is a community member as well. So throughout this chapter, we're going to be focused on this concept of the is-a relationship and doing what we call inheriting existing capabilities of an existing class and then enhancing those capabilities for some new class or classes that we're creating. Now throughout this chapter we'll be focused primarily on two classes, one called commission employee, which is an employee who's going to be paid a commission based on their gross sales, and then a subclass of that called base plus commission employee, which is just like a commission employee but somebody who also gets a base salary in addition to the gross sales times the commission rate that they earn. So in the next video we'll take a look at another hierarchy diagram that allows us to continue our discussion of is-a relationships and superclasses and subclasses.